I welcome you all in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit to this YouTube channel, Christian Apologetics Network. Yes, this is the first video I'll be making on this channel. Actually, it took me a while for me to get this first topic. Actually, I had to wait on the Lord for the Lord to lead me. And then a few weeks ago, I saw this topic. I made this video about Dawah speaking on second marriage, himself and his Islamic brothers and sisters, and talking about second marriage or second wife. So then I sensed the Lord leading me to speak on this topic. So I had to speak on this topic. Then so what I'll be doing is that I'll be playing the video, then I'll pause it for a while, then give in my opinion on on what they are talking about as regarding secret second wife or secret second marriage in Islam. So let us dive in and start playing the video.
And inshallah, our aim with that show is to counter that, inshallah, to preserve marriages. Let's get straight into it. The topic is secret second wives. And yes, the first topic is it okay? So what we're going to do is two segments. The first one is going to be that, is it okay for a man to be in a secret second marriage or third or fourth marriage for that? Let's start with you, Hijab, Sharia.
So let me just summarize the points. I think when we say is it okay, now for Muslim people at least, this will become a fiqh discussion. This becomes a jurisprudential discussion, Islamic law discussion. So with fiqh, there's two components. There's the abstract and there's the application. Okay, the abstract you can refer to as fiqh or the rulings, or the asl al-hukm they would call it, and then you have tanzil al-hukm, which is the application, right? So to give you an example, marriage itself can take different rulings. Sugar can take different rulings. Like if someone's got diabetes and they take sugar, that can be haram for them. You see, if someone is morbidly obese and they eat food, that can be haram for them because it's harmful. So even food can take different rulings. Even though a piece of chicken, for example, or a cube of sugar in itself is not haram, but it can be haram in certain situations. Yeah, and so there's lots of things like that. In general, so when we talk about this issue here, to get straight into it, when we talk about secret second wives, there's no such thing as secret second wives in Islam. Because there's no secrets in nikah. You need to have at least two witnesses. Okay, according to the majority of scholars. The Malikiyah, they say you don't even need to have witnesses. They say it's mustahab, it's not wajib. For the most part, that's the school of thought. But they use the hadith a'lan nikah, or you have to do i'lan of the nikah. You have to, popularize it to the people. However, having said that, it is very possible for somebody to get married without telling their first wife in Islam, as an abstract hukm. Why? Because there's no prerequisite, there's no conditioning, ishtirat, there's no conditioning, according to any of the madahib, in fact, that a man needs to tell his first wife or ask permission from her or anything like that, in order for him to get a second. Practically,
Let me pause it here and then let me speak on what he just said. As in, what Mohammed Hijab, as you can see, is the one speaking now. Mohammed Hijab. What he's saying now is, he said there's no secret marriage in Islam, and he said there's nothing secret in marriage. That in Islam there has to be at least two witnesses present in the marriage. But he then mentioned that, but without the wife knowing about it. So I don't know how they come up with this definition of this not being a secret marriage. You see, when I first looked at this video, or when I first saw the topic, I was like, these people are not even ashamed. They are like, they come publicly to declare that you can have a second wife, and you can have a second marriage without your first wife knowing about it. I mean, this is morally wrong by all standard. And what Jab is saying, you don't have to, that there's nowhere in the Islamic law or anywhere in the hadith or any in the Quran that says that you need to have the opinion of your wife before taking a second wife. You don't need to tell him. Now this shows how disrespectful Islam can be to the female genders rather. So if you can as a man, you can just wake up one morning and decide to pick up a wife a second wife, a third wife, or a fourth wife in Islam as you will, without even informing your wife. That is, even whether you tell him and whether you tell her or you don't, does not really mean here. Whether you carry her along or you don't, that does not really change your opinion, because she does not have a say in it. It is your own responsibility, and you are the one that has the final say. This gives you a clear definition and a clear position of women when it comes to Islam. How can you marry a second wife without the knowledge of your previous wives? And then Mohammed Hijab says it's not a secret. How can it not be a secret? It might not be a secret to you, but it's a secret to the woman. After all, it is the man and the woman that makes up the marriage, and your closest companion on earth is your wife. And if your closest companion on earth does not know about the marriage, it is all a secret as far as anybody can say, because by all standard, this is morally wrong. Let's continue.
So the issue is, if he does it, then he must now, and you think about it, if it's going to be a completely equal polygamy, which is the asl of the situation, then he's going to be having to at least divide the nights equally. Because in polygamy, you don't have to divide the days equally, you divide the nights equally. And the nights have a very specific definition from certain times. Now, what I'm saying is, now, the second wife, for this to actually be feasible where the first wife doesn't know, the second wife must do misyar, really. For the most part, misyar is a kind of marriage where it's a tanazul an ba'd al-huquq, that she is voluntarily letting go of some of her rights. Yeah, forgoing her rights. And so, if she does that, and for example, she says to the man, come to me on such and such a day, on such and such a night, or such and such a place, this is legitimate in Islam. In fact, it has an asl in Islam. The Prophet ﷺ, Sauda bint Zam'a did this with him. She let go of her nights for Aisha radiallahu anha. So it's not haram. In fact, it's something the Prophet ﷺ did himself. So the question now is, okay, you've got other issues like inheritance, because the inheritance changes. You do have to actually change your inheritance. It's interesting because Ibn Jawzi mentions this in one of his books, but I'll mention this afterwards, of the secret second wife. And by the way, scholars of the past did this. They married a woman without the first wife's knowledge. Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani married the big scholar. He married a woman, her name was Unsi. Her first wife was called Unsi. She was a scholar in her own right, hadith scholar. And even some Western academics have written papers. Yusuf Rappaport wrote a paper about the fact that he married a second wife without the first wife knowing. And he was asking the question, why did he feel the need to do that? He was a very, if you want to put it in modern day terms, high value man, very rich. He was the biggest scholar of Islam at that time, but he didn't tell his first wife. In fact, there's even some Ali radiallahu anhu didn't get married to a second woman, but there's a hadith of Buraidah. There's a hadith where it says that he went into a particular war or battle, and he took a prisoner of war. And he took a prisoner of war who was very beautiful. Buraidah wanted her as well. Okay, and then he says that he literally says khamasa. It's called the khums. So in the war booty, 1/5 goes to, like, let's say, the state, and then the Ahlul Bayt take 1/5 of that. So because Ali's from Ahlul Bayt, he put her, the Jariyah, in the 5th that he wanted. So Buraidah was very angry because he wanted to be with that woman.
Why are you buying so much? I thought you were supposed to economize a little before you get.
Anyway, the point is that Buraidah went to the Prophet ﷺ, and the Prophet ﷺ, he said he endorsed what Ali did. The point is, Fatima could never have known that he did that, because it was far away from Fatima.
Yeah.
It was not in Medina. They were not in Medina. So you've got two things. The Prophet ﷺ endorsed it. Obviously, it could be argued that she wasn't a wife. Nevertheless, it's still a polygamous sexual relationship. And it was clear that he'd done a sexual relationship with her, because there's a whole discussion about him doing janaba and ghusl and all these kind of things. Moreover, even the Prophet Muhammad himself. I mean, there's a verse in the Quran, وَإِذَا أَصَرَّ النَّبِيُّ إِلَى بَعْضِ أَزْوَاجِهِ حَدِيثًا. If no one thought about this verse. When the Prophet, he kept a secret from some of his wives. Some scholars, I'm not going to go into detail, but some scholars actually connect this with an incident with Maria the Copt and so on. And I'm not going to go into detail, but the idea of actually not telling your husband or your wife, to be fair, because the hadith in Sahih Muslim says لا يحل الكذب إلا في ثلاث, that lying is not allowed except for three things. One of them is hadith الرجل لامرأته, that when a man speaks to his wife, and in Sahih Muslim it says, and when a wife speaks to her husband.
White lies?
It doesn't have to be white. It can be black lie. Sorry to say. I'm not. This idea of white lie it's a modern day thing that people say. There's in the classical works.
Yeah.
There's no differentiation there here in the kutub. Like for example, that's not how people understood it. It can be you can lie to your spouse. In this situation, so the issue is that.
Now let me stop here again. This is so hilarious to me. I don't know if it is to you. Can you listen to what they're saying? He said in Sahih book, in Sahih Muslim, there's an hadith that has to do with that. Lying is not permitted in Islam except for three things. It says in three cases that you can lie to that the husband can lie to his wife and the wife to her husband. I mean, what kind of religion is this? How can you say that lying is not permitted except in three things? Come on. You don't lie in any situation. Why, even if you want to tell a lie, why must Allah permit lying to the closest person to you on earth? I mean, this your wife or your husband, you are so close to each other that you know each other in-depthly. Then why should lying be permitted between couples? So if you as a man lie to your husband, it's okay. You did not commit any sin. And if the wife lied to her husband, it's okay. He did not commit any sin. So that means let's assume the husband just commits adultery outside, and then the wife is sensing such a thing, and the wife asks her husband, "Honey, did you just, what happened? What did the husband can say? I'm very sorry. I'm just coming back from the mosque." Wow. Using Allah himself to even lie. Using the house of Allah to lie. So, and then he said that in this case that you can lie, that in this kind of case that you have a second wife, as a man, if your wife should ask you that, do you have a second wife, it's permitted for you to lie, and then that lie will not be held accountable for you. Is this morally okay to you? I've not even started comparing Christianity with Islam or with any other religion now. But morally, let us look at this. Morally, is this good? Can you endorse this morally? Can you train up your children in this line, in this way? If we cannot train up our child in this line that you should lie to your spouse, how much, if we human beings can think this way that it is not morally good to us, we cannot endorse this. Even schools cannot teach children or cannot teach students that, okay, when you grow up and then you want to marry, there are some lies that you have to tell your wives. I mean, morally to us it is wrong. It is bad. If it is wrong to us, if it is bad to us that if our spouse tells us lie, and then at the long run we later got to know that it is lie, how would you feel as the husband or as a wife that your wife tells you a lie and the husband or tells you a lie, and then at the long run you got to know about it? How would you feel? You're going to feel betrayed. You begin to have a mistrust. I think is Allah so foolish and so stupid that he does not know that this can break the home? Does he not know? Is he not wise enough to know that this is not a standard to build your home on? That if your wife or your husband should know that you are lying, it's going to bring about mistrust. Then there's going to be a trust issue in the home. And once there's a trust issue going on in the home is as easy as breaking up. Is Allah not? Is he foolish, or is he not wise enough to know this? And then he commands that you can lie to your wife, you can lie to your husband, you can lie to your spouse. If we human beings, we see that this thing is not morally good, it's not morally okay, we cannot teach it, we cannot uplift it, we cannot condone it. How much more God? We should expect God to be more strict when it comes to this kind of thing. To me, I think we humans, we are even much wiser and better off than Allah. Let us continue.
This is that.
So can they lie in the context of, for example, if one says, I sense that you've got a second wife, can he say, no, I don't?
Yes, you can. You can say that.
He can say that.
Yes, I personally believe this is hadith on the
Can you listen to the crap that these guys are saying? So if a man should have a second wife outside, and then the wife begin to suspect that her husband is having a second wife, or did a secret marriage, and then the wife went ahead and asked her, honey, did you have a second wife or a secret marriage? According to Islam, you can lie, you can say no. You can say that immediately Muhammad Hijab said yes, you can lie, you can say no. The other lady laughed. I mean, this does not sit well with anybody. You cannot, even as a man, personally as a man, this cannot sit well with you as a man. And even as a lady, hardly are you going to see a lady that's going to tell you, I want my husband to marry a second wife. Hardly will you say that. Will you see a lady to come out boldly and say, this is what I want? They don't. They don't want competition. A woman wants a husband to herself. And a woman does not love to share her husband, because you've given him your heart. How can you share your heart with somebody else? And come to take of it, then women that cannot share their husband with someone else, with such a woman, agree that I'm okay if you should marry, if you have a wife outside without me knowing about it, a second wife. How many of these kind of acts has caused marriages has disturbed a lot of marriages? How many of these kind of acts has caused husband and wife to part their ways to divorce? Because the husband was, this one is not even a secret marriage. It's the fact that the husband was having an affair with another lady outside, and the wife wasn't about it. And then there was the two parties have to go asunder. These cases are rampant. Does it mean that Allah does not value marriage? I don't. These are the questions that we need to start asking ourselves as concerning this religion and this Allah of a God and His Prophet Muhammad. Let us continue.
So the Prophet said you can do it. I believe it's possible. Now, having said this all, I said this is the abstract ruling.
Yeah.
But in implementation, okay. Now, because like I said, the hukum can take different rulings based on a personal side. If someone does this and they get caught, for example, or something happens, or
she just asks him, where were you last night?
Yeah, but even that, he can lie. We've already
so you are allowed to lie,
yes,
anything related to the relationship?
I believe it's not anything, because there are some things you can never lie about in Islam.
Yeah.
For example, you can never lie about the religion of Islam. You can never lie about something which relates to the rights of the person. You can never lie about something that relates to vested interests, like the children, for example. There's things you can never lie about, but I believe yes, you can.
But are you saying in the context of, for example, it's going to ruin the family unit, so he's lying to protect his family?
Look, I'm saying to you, I don't recommend this. But we started off by saying that there's two things. There's one aspect which is jurisprudential.
Now, listen to what Mohammed Hijab said. He said he does not recommend this. But whereas the hadith clearly teaches it. Islam clearly teaches it. That is, it means that whosoever wants to do it can do it. But you said you don't recommend it. He even initially gave us examples of how the Prophet Muhammad, how he had a second wife without the other wives knowing about it. So if the prophet of all time, the greatest of all prophets of all time, that the Islam says is the greatest, can do this, it shows that he recommends it. If Quran is okay with it, the hadith is okay with it, Islamic laws are okay with it, who is Mohammed Hijab to say he does not recommend it? Is Mohammed Hijab trying to say that he's wiser than the prophet? Is he trying to say that he's wiser than Allah? Is he trying to say that he's wiser than the Sunnah? Is he trying to say that he's wiser than the Sharia law? Then why must you not recommend it? Why must you disrecommend what Allah has recommended? Why must you disrecommend what the Prophet has recommended? So you would see that there's nothing even to even speak about all this again. You see that they can never recommend it because it is by all standard morally wrong. But they wouldn't say this openly. But they will only say because this is what Quran teach, this is what the Sunnah teach, this is what the prophets teach. So they will just follow it like a sheep that is being led to slaughter. You follow without asking questions. That is, I don't think that is a religion that you need to follow. And even in science, there's something we call before a something can become a law or a theory, it must have passed several tests. You must test it before it becomes a law. There's a stage of hypothesis. It has not yet been proven to be true. So if the prophets recommend this, then why don't Mohammed Hijab or anybody now recommending it? He even gave us an example of some scholars that even carried out this kind of thing. Is Mohammed Hijab telling that he's wiser than those scholars or he knows better than them? The point is that Allah recommends it, Muhammad recommends it, he teaches it. No one can say he does not recommend it. Why must you just recommend what Allah has recommended? Is even for what he said, he has committed one of the greatest sin in Islam.
And another aspect, which is application. Jurisprudential, the man can do it. It's up to the man. No woman can take that right away from the man.
Okay,
It's impossible.
So let's get this right, yeah? So that Islamically, any of us can get a secret second wife.
Absolutely.
Or any man for that
No, not
matter.
secret. We can get Islamically. There is no problem in a man getting married to another woman in Misyar without the first wife's knowledge. However, the question is, and there's no khilaf in this.
Yeah.
There's actually, I've not seen one solitary difference of opinion in any of the 14 generations of Islam. It's not there.
Which is?
Any scholar saying that no, a woman needs to know, she needs to tell her, doesn't exist.
Yeah, that's it.
You see, can you listen to what they are saying now? That is, there is nowhere in Islam or in the books, in the Quran, in the Hadith, or in the, that is, and the 14th generation of Islam that states that a woman needs to know about the marriage. If you're a lady listening to this, and then you're married, you're a Muslim, and then you listen to this kind of talk going on, how would you feel? It's just that women are not really properly placed when it comes to marriage in Islam. You do not have a say. You don't matter. That is actually what it means. You can see Ali Dawah saying that any one of us here or any man can go ahead and marry secret wives. And then Muhammad Hijab said, not just secret wife, you can even marry up to 4 wives, even without making it a secret. I mean, a man can do that. If all these benefits are being given to men, what about the benefits of the women? Have you, as a woman, have you ever asked yourself that you becoming serving Allah or doing all this, what is your benefit? What are you going to gain? Now, for the men, if they die and they go to Al Jannah, it is said that they are going to be given virgins and thereabouts. What about you as a woman? What are you going to get? Nothing. If the husband you married here on earth was a husband that beats you, that maltreats you, that does all manner of things to you, Allah says that when you get to Jannah, you are going to marry that same husband that's beating you. I mean, what kind of teaching is this? Let us continue.
Having said that, do I recommend it? No, I don't recommend it in general.
No, we'll come to it. We'll come. Hold you. Why you don't recommend it? Okay, guys. After this show, if you see any of us dead, please come to our janaza. Please make dua for us and sadaqa jariyah.
Sorry, but one more thing.
Yes, please.
We're talking about the religion of Islam. Like, Allah says, وَأَن تَقُولُ عَلَى اللَّهِ مَا لَا تَعْلَمُونَ. I'm not here to, with due respect, I don't prostrate myself to the emotions of women or men or anyone else. I'm speaking about the religion. This is a ruling. We cannot distort the rulings.
There's an ayah in the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says to the Prophet that, are you going to make something which is haram for you, halal for you, haram, because of the fear of your wives. That's a very deep statement. That could be...
Always make your wives pleased with you.
Exactly, yeah. So I believe brothers should fear Allah more than their wives. But having said that, you guys heard it. I mean, please tell me, I don't think, I think there's bil ijma, meaning there's consensus that none of you guys are okay with your husbands getting a second wife. Can I just quickly get that out of the way? Sister Swad.
Absolutely not.
You're not okay with it? Yeah. Listen, Sister,
It's a no from me, and if you
Okay.
have anything to say, say it now.
you're finished.
Yeah.
Sister Amira?
Yeah, no.
No. Sister Tyra?
And I won't be happy with it.
Okay, she won't be happy with it. Okay, now.
Now listen to this. These are all Muslims, women. They are four in numbers now. And then they were asked if they'll be happy if their husband should have a second wife. This is not even a secret second wife. None of them said no. How many women are in Islam today? Their husband had a second wife and you think they're happy about it. It's because Islam does not give them a say. As you can hear it here, they don't have a say in it. In Christianity, you dare not try it because even, number one, Christ does not permit us to have a second wife. You only have to have one wife. Even if you want to have that second wife, when you even tell your wife, if your wife should go, you cannot even have a second wife because in this Christianity, you don't. It is one wife, one woman, until death do you part. God is so wise and He is so infinite. He understood that if He should permit the second wife, definitely, there's no way you can love the wives the same way. And there's no way you can satisfy them the same way. You are only going to be bringing more problems even to yourself. So no woman who is going to like this, who's going to love to have this kind of competition in his home or in our home. Rather, let's continue.
Listen,
I like that response.
now listen. Yeah, I love listening. Now listen to us, brothers. Yeah. Okay, starting from Dawah. Yeah. Would you say you are polygamous by nature?
Hey, we had this conversation before,
Can we have you on the mic, please?
and I disagree with it.
Okay, no. I'm just asking a simple question. Let's not go into the nitty-gritty. All I'm saying is,
I'm not going to say I'm polygamous by nature. I'll say that.
bro. Let me answer the question again.
Yeah.
If your wife was totally okay with it,
Yeah.
zero problems,
Mhm.
you come back home and she's cooking a meal, bro. You just got married.
Yeah.
Would you get a second wife?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would.
No, I'm going to miss the brother because we don't want to. Look, okay, let's put it like this, yeah? What you're saying is within our nature. Yeah?
Just be careful, Saj. Be
just jokes
careful.
aside, yeah? If you die, we love you. Yeah, it was for the cause, yeah? Okay, brothers. Okay, what I'm just saying is that as a man, would you not say you are polygamous by nature? It doesn't mean you have to act upon it, but would you not say that every man is polygamous by nature? That if their wives were totally okay with it, no consequences, that they would do it.
I don't think I would.
Aww.
No, but I
One second,
don't
one
know because
second.
the thing is,
He needs
I
a
work
light
on the
check
doors.
on him.
Guys, 1 second.
Well, the thing is, I work on the doors.
Because there's conflict of interest here as well.
Yeah, I work on the doors. Let's say I work on the doors.
Okay,
Yeah, but the thing is, I work on the doors. There's so many women out there, but the thing is, it doesn't do nothing for me.
No, we know that. Look, I have no doubt about that. What I'm saying is the following, Aki, yeah?
Yeah.
The reason I'm saying this, yeah, and we need to be brutally honest, yeah? The reason I'm saying this, you know why? Because sisters are under the impression that there is a man out there that is not polygamous. I believe
That's true. That's delusional. Anyone that thinks that is delusional.
Okay,
No,
okay.
it is true. Not every man is polygamous.
One second. Look, let me tell you something. If they brought a lie detector test right now, this second. No, 1 second. You know why? And they, listen. If they put me, Hijab, Brother Sultaj, Dawah on lie detector test, and they said the following questions: do you love your wife? Yes. Pass. Would you die for her? Yes. Pass. If your wife is okay, would you get a second wife? Yes. Pass. There is not a conflict between a man loving his wife and a man wanting to be polygamous.
I agree.
And this is very important. If we're going to, and I'm not saying, I hear you out here, but what I'm saying is, listen, let's pass you, okay? Let's pass you because we're here to make
No,
plans.
that's all
What are you trying to say that every man would want to?
Yes, sister.
Men are polygamous by nature. Women are
Okay,
jealous
sister,
by
so
nature.
I believe men are
Okay.
polygamous
I
by
believe
nature.
they are.
Sister,
They are.
okay. Guys,
Not like question.
we can hear you. Please, forgive me because it's coming at the back of my. Please forgive me. Yeah.
To stop the issue at hand.
This is look. The reason why I started the show and I called it Bitter Truth for a reason. Yeah, is because at the end, look, my wife is here. She's a co-producer. Okay. If I went to my wife and said, if I got married again, she will say, "Oh, my dead body. I don't want it."
Yeah.
I understand that. And any woman that says she's okay with it, I'll say, "I'm so sorry, you're not." Because the best of the women who are believers smashed plates,
Yeah.
literally smashed plates. Yeah. Now the point is the following, though.
In the classroom, there are ongoing innovations in learning strategies.
Literally smashed plates, yeah? Now, the point is the following, though. The reason you're saying that, sister, is why? Because we as men, we are, and the studies that show this, we are created in a way of procreating. For example, if, for example, there was 4 men left on earth, yeah, and that was it, yeah, they can start a new generation. Those 4 men, they can, forgive me, just for educational purposes, yeah, they can impregnate thousands of women. That's within our nature. But if a woman, there was 4 women left on this planet, yeah, they're finished, because you're giving birth 9 months, you're out the game. So the point I'm saying, when it comes to the evolution and a few other factors, the point I'm trying to say is the following: like when it comes to survival, things that you have to procreate, yeah. Every man is polygamous by nature, in the context where, because you guys are monogamous by nature, meaning you just want your husband and you're happy with your husband. We are not created like that. And anyone that says they are vice versa, and this is the reason why we started the show: get to know us better, understand us men. This is in our blood. Okay, now coming back to you,
You can just say it. Just say it.
I know what you mean.
What I mean is that in our nature, this doesn't mean.
It is in our nature, yeah.
Ali, can you reframe the question?
Okay, I'm so sorry.
So can you?
Now let me talk about this. Men being polygamous by nature. You see, the question that Ali Dawah was asking is, what he was saying is that men are polygamous by nature. So, therefore, even if women are not okay with it, then it does not really matter. Because it is in the blood of the men, or it is in their nature to be polygamous. So they want more than one wife. And I begin to see this kind of orientation or this kind of thing going on around, and then they're like, men are polygamous. We have cases of people being celibate. When God created Adam and Eve, God created them male and female. If God had known that Adam would be polygamous in nature, that Adam would have got another wife, God should have added to Adam probably about 2 or 3 Eves. But even God only created one Adam for one Eve, and one Eve for one Adam. So God is saying, I am creating one man to marry one woman, and one woman to marry one man. If this thing of being polygamous in nature is in that of men, are there not cases of women being polygamous also? That you're going to know of women that are married, and then you see them having concubines. Are you going to say that those women too are polygamous by nature, or probably something else was what led them to it? Actually, the fact remains that no matter how they twist it, even in the Old Testament, we have Adam only cleave to his wife, and Adam only had one Eve. And there was no case recorded that Adam ever took up another woman except Eve. Even who Adam cannot even marry any other person, because God only give him Eve. Okay? Another person is Isaac. Isaac only married Rebecca. If these people can do it, then anybody else can do it. Okay? So there's no way they want to go about it. It is true that there are men who are polygamous, and the same way it is also true that there are women who are polygamous. But from the beginning, it was not so. It was due to the lust of men. That was what made man or woman to be polygamous. Not that God would never create what is bad in you. Are you know what I'm saying? It was as a result of the sin that took place in Garden of Eden. Then we begin to have this kind of traces of sin in man and women. So you cannot just say that only men are polygamous and then leave the women that women are not polygamous. If it is true that women are not polygamous, there shouldn't be a case of having women having an affair with other men outside as their husband. So this law or this hypothesis which they are saying does not work at all, because if you look at the foundation of creation, it was not so in the beginning. That was the reason when the Pharisees and the Sadducees came to Jesus, they asked him, look, this woman was caught in the very case of divorce, or was, I mean, that there was a woman that has an husband, and her husband died. Then her husband brother married her, and then the husband brother married her too. Then he asked Jesus that in the afterlife, who was going to be the husband of the wife? Then Jesus Christ explained to them that, look, in heaven it's not so. Nobody marries, neither are they giving out to marriage. There's no procreation in marriage. I mean, in heaven. And then Jesus Christ says, look, and then they ask Jesus, look, as concerning divorce, Moses asked us to give them the reason of divorce, that we can divorce them. And Jesus Christ told them, look, Jesus Christ said, look, what you are saying, in the beginning, it was not so. Then they asked, then why did Moses ask us to give them the certificate of divorce? Jesus Christ said, it was because of the hardness of your heart. And the hardness of the heart comes from the Adamic nature, from the fall of man. God did not create the hardness of heart there. It came from the fall of man. So it was when man fell that we begin to have all this kind of thing. But God did not create man polygamous in nature. He created one Adam and one Eve till them till death do them part. But as time goes on, because of the sinners of man, then man fell, and then because of the hardness of their heart, God had to permit divorce for the Old Testament. Now in the New Testament, there's nothing like divorce, and there's nothing like you having more than one wife. Even in the Old Testament, we have examples of people that had one wife. Joseph had one wife. Isaac had one wife. Adam had one wife. You know what I'm saying? So we had cases of those that had only one wife without having any concubines at all, and then without having under extramarital affairs. Okay, so this, what I'm saying, is not correct, because when you look at the beginning of creation, it was not so.
One second, guys, from there, please. You let my wife know, and then for me, and then I'll come to you guys. Because
Can you reframe the question
Yes.
to the brothers and say that if your wife agreed and she's happy, would you like to? Look, I get the polygamous part. I get the whole wanting to have more intimacy with more than one woman. But if you can ask the question more accurately, that take on another wife and all the responsibilities that come with another wife, how many men will agree to that?
good, you know what? And that's
Because I'll tell you, with my husband, he's made it very clear in that that the headache and the stress. Not that I give him headache and stress, but just he's so content in our relationship.
Okay.
He wouldn't see himself, engaged in another that because.
Okay, sister, but let me put this here. This is the reason why the topic is secret second wives. Is the question that needs to ask is that why are men even choosing to make it secret? And the whole reason is because if your husband used to come to you and say, I want to get married again, and I want to do it properly, yeah? Now, I say to the sisters, if you don't want your husband to get a second wife, you tell him that if he's going to get a second wife, he has to do it properly. Meaning, which is what, and let me tell you something, if you don't want your husband to get a second wife, implement this, yeah? You tell him you're going to marry her, you're going to do walima for her, you're going to get a mahar, you're going to get all of this stuff. You know what he'll say? He'll say, bruv, that's long.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But if there are men out there who can do that, the question I want to ask you guys is, what is the right way so men don't go behind their wives' back? Why are they keeping it secret? Because they are scared of the consequences. Not seeing their kids, being kicked out, being blackmailed. These are major sins, by the way. Not showing your kids. I know brothers who have been divorced and not seeing their kids because they wanted to get a second wife. This is dhulm. On the day of judgment, are you mad? Something he did halal, understand, it's emotional, you're upset. You are stopping him from seeing his kids. You are now going to the law. Bro, we had brothers here, we had fathers here, accused of pedophilia with their kids because of a bitter wife. I'm asking a simple question, yeah? I think there's Bill Ijma here. You guys would never want it. We would, definitely.
But there are ways that women can implement
No, sister, I'm asking a question.
where a husband cannot marry a second wife if he agrees and signs on the day of the nikah. He cannot then go and get a secret
That's
wife.
the Hanbali madhab. But if somebody doesn't believe that, it's battered. He doesn't even acknowledge it. Yeah? And also, yes. I'm going to give it to you. But after him, I want to ask you guys a question. Please, can you tell us the correct way of going about it so it's not secret?
But this is what she said. There's truth in what she said.
Of course.
The Hanbali madhab is actually mentioned in all the books of the Hanabila. Ibn Qudama mentions that. What do you call it? Dawi mentions that. Hajjawi mentions it. Even Zal Mustaqna mentions it. Musa al-Hajjawi mentions it. So many people mention it. Bahuti. So this is what you're saying is legitimate. In fact, if someone puts in the contract, and maybe I should give an order.
No, you should give the tip.
Brothers, even if it's the brothers, it's a bit of truth.
We're giving order. Funny enough,
We're gonna take it back.
funny enough, I'm Hanbali myself. You know.
I'm Maliki.
Okay. But all the other madhahib actually don't agree with this. And the reason why is they bring it, there's a hadith of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ that says, أَيُّ شَرْطٍ لَيْسَ فِي كِتَابِ اللَّهِ فَهُوَ بَاطِلٌ. That any condition that is not in the book of Allah then is nullified. So they say that this is incorrect. So the Hanafis don't accept this, the Shafi'is don't accept this, and the Malikis don't accept this.
So what Mohammed Hijab is saying now is that the ladies are saying that what if on the day of Nikah that there's a contract between the man and the woman that no second wife. So the man cannot marry a second wife. But Mohammed Hijab is saying, Prophet Muhammad already identified that anything that is not in the law of Allah should be disregarded. So far there's no substantial proof or words or evidence of it that the Prophet does not teach about it, does not teach it, the Allah himself does not speak about it in Quran. Then even if there's a contract of such between the man and the woman on during the nikah, that is during their wedding day, then it can be cancelled. That the husband can still even choose to have a second wife or a secret second wife or third wife or fourth wife, depending on how many he wants. So there's nothing of such in the Quran on their deeds, and it is not even in the law of Allah. It's just a self or man-made law, and it does not hold any ground. Come on. I don't know how absurd this is. Even the topic itself is really morally degrading. Secret second wife. God.
So if the woman is Hanbali, for example, she puts this agreement, and he's not this thing.
What would I do without your small mouth, drawing me in and you kicking?
No, but he's not this thing. He doesn't. It's all about what he believes in. If he doesn't believe in it, it might not be veracious. However, I would add to it, the Prophet ﷺ did say, "Al-Muslimun ala shurutihim." Muslims are upon their condition, which is you know, oh, you who believe, fulfill the contract.
Yes.
So if a man does sign something like that, I would personally believe it's an obligation for him to honor that. Having said that, once again, it goes back to the madhab he's following, right? So if he's not following that particular school of thought, if he isn't, that's something else. So that's just, I think it's a good point.
Okay, so before we slide away, because I feel like the first question that was asked about is secret, is it okay to have a secret wife? I would love to go back there.
Please, yeah.
I mean, I think I haven't personally looked into it, so I'll take your word. So I don't know, that might be a different opinion. I don't know. I take what Hijab said about like that it's like agreed upon that you shouldn't that it's okay to do a secret, but I would love to speak about the implications that it has a bit more, because it's something I feel like that we didn't really discuss, because because the implication is that the secret, like, okay, obviously nothing is really secret. Again, you can't have a secret wife per se, because
You have to announce.
it's marriage in Islam, the way it's constructed.
Yeah, but let's not sugarcoat it. It's a secret from the first wife.
I'm gonna.
Do you know what I mean?
I'm gonna get that. I'm gonna
Why
get that.
is
Yeah, but this
secret?
is the whole thing,
May
right?
I
The
finish?
whole
May I finish?
topic
Because
Well, you're a buzzer. You
it's
can use
a
a buzzer.
secret from the first
yeah,
wife.
but I'm trying to
Sorry.
take it elsewhere. I'm trying to go
press your
deep.
buzzer.
I want to go deep. So what I'm trying to say is that Islam, in the way that Islam has constructed marriage is like a communal thing. So there's always other people involved, but it will be a secret to the person that matters the most, which is the wife, right? And I don't think that that causes cohesion. In the long term, in a society. Imagine if we were to live in a society where there's a considerable amount of men who do this, there's so many implications that come out of it. The children out of those marriages, do they know that they're siblings?
Thank you.
I'm so glad you've mentioned
so all these problems
children
could-
as well.
Yes, true. But why
Let me
is the
just
man
finish.
keeping a secret?
I'm just going to finish. I'm just going to finish.
Why is the man keeping a secret?
Yeah, and I'm going to get there, and I'm with you on that one. I'm just saying that for those brothers who do these things, you must understand that the pain and the misery that could be a byproduct of this thing is tremendous. And therefore, I wouldn't, like I said, not really recommend it.
What Dawud said is a very important point. You mentioned the kids. That's an important point. The inheritance is another important point.
And let me speak on this. You see, this man, this black guy that just spoke, you can see that he spoke some senses. The consequences greatly outweighs your sexual lust. That's going to make you to say you want to have a secret marriage with a second wife. The consequences is so great. And if the consequences are so great, what is the essence of endorsing it? What is the essence of permitting it? What is the essence of asking your fellow Muslim or your people that follows you as a Muslim to carry on and do it? Why must you teach it? Why must you endorse it? If you as a God, you are omnipotent. Allah knows that He is omnipotent, He is omniscient, He knows all things, He is far wiser than we men. He knows this. Then, if the consequences, if we human beings can think about the consequences being so grievous, why then should Allah or the Prophet Mohammed, that is the greatest of all prophets, as claimed by Muslims, why must he ask his followers, or why must he teach us that you can engage in a secret marriage, in a secret second marriage, without your first wife, your third wife, or your fourth wife knowing about it? I mean, the consequences greatly outweighs it so much outweighs even your sexual desire that you want to get out of it. It's really, and it does not worth it. If Allah was as wise as man, I don't think you should have cautioned Muhammad and said, "Hey, Muhammad, don't speak on that. Don't ask your followers to engage in secret second wife." And if Muhammad too was as wise as we as present day humans being, or even the past prophets, he shouldn't have thought this. But the bitter truth is the fact that he did it based on his own benefit. Check up the Quran. Everything Muhammad did was for his own benefit. He does not think about the future or any other thing. He does not think about the repercussion. All he's after is his own sexual desire. And that's why you see that most of the doctrines, most of the laws in Islam really favors men a lot, and without considering the feminine gender.
These are two things you can't read, because actually the Messiah thing, you cannot actually tanazul on inheritance. It's not, you cannot forego that right as a woman.
Yes.
You know, you're allowed to forego rights. You're not allowed to forego your inheritance.
Yeah.
So it poses an issue here. So the guy has to kind of put her in inheritance or whatever. That's one issue. Yeah. The other issue is, like we said, the children. If there's children from both wives and they're in the same proximity and there is some level of possibility that they could mingle, then that could be completely haram for that to happen, because now the implications is incest and all that kind of stuff.
Exactly.
So this is one thing. But having said this, you know, and I agree with what he said, this is what we're talking about is an exceptional circumstance. That Sharia doesn't want this.
Yes.
It's clear that the Sharia wants people to know about marriages. It's clear that Sharia wants there to be a transparency in the equation, that everyone is given. It's clear that the Sharia doesn't want misyar. It's clear that these are the exceptional circumstances. So we shouldn't make it the default.
Okay, but why
having said that,
why?
We're living in an age now where, frankly, the woman has the state backing. Like, for instance, if the woman goes and says that a man has raped me, or that he has molested the child, or that he's been domestic, there's a chance that he can never see the children again. Like, for example, the .gov website, I was reading recently, just now, like 2 days ago. They're now expanding the definition of abuse. They said abuse, I can send this to you, it said abuse includes in controlling behavior. Now, controlling behavior, what does that? It's so vague that it actually slides into some of the traditionalist discourse, if you think about it. Controlling behavior, it said in the .gov website that it is on par with physical violence, and if a man does it, he can be on the sexual register.
Sorry, I was on a documentary for the BBC, and it's called "Is This Coercive Control?" And when we speak of coercive control, the reason why it can be equated to physical violence is because of the amount of damage that can happen. Coercive control, although it doesn't seem like dangerous, I know what you're saying. Of course, Amira.
From what I remember from the document, it used two keywords in like it was self-contained. Two different sentences. Coercion was one word, and control was another word. What you're doing now is using both words.
No, but they are one thing. So coercive control is one. It is one crime.
The reason they're not the same, because in the dictionary you'll see coercion means to force someone to do something. Control is not necessarily. It can have a wider meaning, right? So what I'm saying is, if you controlling behavior, you can say my mom had controlling behavior of me. She was controlling. You cannot say that she had coercive behavior. That means that she forced you to do something. What I'm saying is that we're not talking about forcing someone to do something here, like putting them in a house and locking them. We're talking about a situation where someone is telling someone else what to do, which you can see that leads into ta'ah and obedience and that kind of thing, which that could be seen as controlling. So what I'm saying is that if consider the things at the man's disposal as a Muslim man. He's got ta'ah, okay? He's got ta'ah means obedience. These are the things that a man has. He's got talaq, or she can do fasq, or he can do it quicker, even she can do fasq, right? And then he's got the financial thing where he can reduce according to all the madhab. I'm not sure all of them. Definitely the Hanbali madhab. He can, if she's being bad, he can take money away from her. Two, this can be seen in this country as abuse. So if she has evidence of that and she's got the state backing, if he tries to impose his masculinity or his Islamic abilities on her, then she can respond in a malicious manner. Which is why I would say that if a woman shows her claws in that way, where now she's doing what he's allowed to do in Islam, and she's now giving him blackmailing, threatening and stuff like that, in a situation like this, I would actually recommend for certain men where he feels like if she blackmails him, if you get divorced to me, another man will raise your children. Or let's say, for example, if you get divorced, if this happens, you'll never see your children again. The moment you see a woman speaking like that, this is an option of secret, second, whatever you want to call it. I think it becomes a very legitimate option.
But and are meant to blame.
Now let me speak on this. You see, you can see what Hijab is saying here, and this actually, to me, look, let us view this without sentimental mindset. He said that if a man should start exhibiting or endorsing his Islamic rights on the woman, and the woman begins to feel uncomfortable, and he begins to try to blackmail or about the woman or say some amount of things, then he said in such a case he endorsed that the man should have a secret second wife. This is what I want to say. While I'm against blackmail by our standard, I'm not against blackmail or that. What I'm saying is that if the Islamic right is really right, if the Islamic right for the man is really right, if it's really right, the woman shouldn't feel uncomfortable with it. If your Islamic right as a man is really right, that it really suits, it should really be suiting to what the woman can contain, what the woman can like. If it's really right, then the woman should be able to say, okay, it is for the betterment of the both of us. It is not for anybody else. But the fact is that the Islamic right that the man is endorsing is not really right. It does not sit well with the woman. How can you come home and then tell the woman that you want to marry a second wife? Which lady? Tell me one kind of woman that's going to accept that. Every woman that is in Islam that the husband marries 2, 3, 4 wives, if you should interview them secretly and then you can put a lie detector on them, you see that none of them did it sit well with them that their husband should marry a second wife. So the rights that the man wants to implement in Islam over the woman is because that right does not sit well with the woman. So the woman will have to resist. So then, and since the woman, so we have to fight against that. I don't want you to marry a second wife. I don't want to. So in such a case, if you now say that the woman does not allow you to marry a second wife, then you can then have a secret second wife. At the long run, it's still going to cause the marriage to crumble. So there's no way around this whole thing. The essence of the home will be broken. The home will be broken. There will be loss of love, loss of trust, and what have you, and there will be divorce. And as far as Islam is concerned, if this same man does the same thing to his second wife, the same is going to happen, and then that's why we're going to have a lot of broken homes in society. There's no way around this. The consequences really outweighs the benefits. The only benefit that anybody can derive from this, the woman does not derive any benefit from it. It's only the man, and the only benefit that the man derives from this is his own sexual pleasure, his own sexual lust of having more than one wife. That is the only benefit is all on the woman, and it is so because Muhammad only seeks what benefits him as a man. So because he's a man, if Muhammad was a woman, you see that Islam is going to revolve around women, and then the benefit will be much for the women than the men. But because Islam was brought by man, so that's the reason I see that men has a lot of benefits. So it really benefits Muhammad then. So that's why he endorses for everybody that are male and not female. Let's continue.
To go down that route when they have wives who are going to make their life hell.
So just to get back to that point, I think it's fine, but there's a term in Islam, taqabbih, where somebody is now abusing that. And it says, I'm sure there's a hadith, it says where you shouldn't do that to your wife for a prolonged time. And if somebody taqabbih, so insulting or taking away their rights and things like that, if somebody is abusing that, then okay, that's one case. But of course there are women out here who do abuse the state backing in regards to the children, which I'm completely in disagreement with.
Okay, we know, but it's
okay,
back to the
second wives.
Sorry, before you continue, I don't think what you said is correct. But تقبح يعني لا تقبح الوجه is what you're talking about. There's only one hadith that لا تقبح الوجه, don't hit the face. But there's يعني, which means تقبح means actually قبيح means ugly. What قبيح means ugly thing. So تقبيح means to make something ugly. The only
but there is a different meaning for it, no?
قبيح means ugly thing. Okay? Tahseen means beautiful thing. Right? So tahseen is beautiful. So taqabbah, la taqabbah al-wajh. The Prophet ﷺ said that, which means don't humiliate the face. You know, there's a hadith on that. But so we need to be clear on the hadith.
Can we come back to the topic at hand?
Okay, sorry. Can I make the point? So for me,
why
I
are men
agree.
going down that route?
Okay.
Hiding it from their wives, because we don't want this to be secret. I'll be honest with you, no man wants to keep it secret. No man wants to go do anything behind his wife's back. So the point is this: if we are created in this manner, you guys are created with certain hormones. Yes, for example, because we're learning here. Yes, you have your period, you have your menopause, you become pregnant, etc. There are so many factors. Men don't blame women and say, "Oh, you know, why are you periods? Why are you in menopause for?" Yeah, and when it comes to intimacy, a lot of men actually feel deprived. Their partners, they're not as bothered. And the thing is here that now we as men are blamed. No, we as men are blamed for a hormone that we are created with. We accept your hormone. You're on the hormone, no problem. We can no intimacy for a week, no problem. Menopause, pregnancy, it's all good. When a man has these hormones, number one, you are not allowed to have it. Number two, if you were to go to act upon it, I'm going to make your life hell. So I'm asking a simple question. What does a man should do? Tell me, the men want to know the correct way of going about this without making it a secret second wife. Because to me, from my point of view, it seems like none of the men want to make it secret. But the pressure, outside pressures from our wives and God knows what other elements, is causing men to be like, you know what, I have to go the secret way.
For me, I agree. Polygamy is permissible. A man doesn't need to, I can't go away from Islam. He doesn't need to tell me, okay? But aside from Islam, I think my integrity, my dignity, my, who I am as a person, I would think it's so disrespectful for my husband to go and marry somebody else secretly without giving me the knowledge.
What about openly?
Can
he come openly?
Before openly, if we're talking about secret second wife, if my husband has gone behind my back, that to me is cheating, even if it is Islamically correct. However, wait, hold on.
Can you get what this woman is saying? She already spoke her mind. It is cheating, even if it's Islamically correct. Imagine, to humans it is cheating, but to God it is not. Can you see the can you see a misplacement, I mean a misunderstanding between man and Allah? We humans being or see it as cheating, and I as a person, I see it as cheating, I see it as wrong. If you should call any moralist that are not even Christians, not Hinduism, not Muslims, not pagan or anything, and probably they're just atheists, then call them and then ask this kind of question that they don't believe in God. This having a secret marriage, having a secret second wife without letting your wife know, your first wife knowing about it, they are going to tell you point blank it is not good. It is cheating, number one. It is not morally upright. A moralist cannot think about in that direction. If morally it is wrong, if a moralist that does not believe there's God or does not even serve any God can say this is wrong, how much more God? Even this woman here, she said even if it is Islamically correct, the fact is that what is correct in Islam is wrong. Morally it is wrong. That even a good human being would not ever subscribe to this kind of thing. A good human, I'm going to stop here. A good human will never subscribe to this kind of thing. Now let me talking about marriage in Christianity. It is so clear in Christianity. One wife, one woman. Because in the beginning it was not, God did not create two Eves for one Adam. So even when Allah permits several kind of marriages, I mean 4, 5 wives for any Muslim man, the question is that Allah, why can't you create four Eve for one Adam? If that was what you intended to do, if you had intended to that you can keep on marrying wives as many as you want, up to 4. Allah should have created about 4 wives for Eve and for Adam, but He did not. He created only one. That means it was God Himself, the real God. God Himself created one Adam and one Eve for one Adam. Meaning that in the beginning it was one wife, one woman, until death do you part. In the New Testament, though in the New Testament it was permissible, it was permissible, but God doesn't like it. It was permissible. Even despite that it was permissible, we had cases of people that had only one wife without having any other wife, just one wife, and that was it. And coming to the New Testament, it is clear you are to have just one wife. And the Bible's Apostle Paul says, look, husband, love your wife. The duty of the husband in the home is to love his wife. And the duty of the wife in the home is to submit to the husband. If the husband and the wife can do their own responsibility, that is, the husband do the loving and the wife does the submitting, there's not going to be any problems in the marriage. But when one or the other fails in his or her responsibility in marriage, then we begin to have a lot of problems. You cannot say that you love your wife and then you want to do what hurt her. You cannot say that you love your husband and you want to do what hurt her. I mean, what's going to hurt him? So what you see as love in Islam is not really true love, because the kind of love that God wants us to exhibit in Christianity is true agape love, the God kind of love. And God has given us that kind of heart that we can love in a true way, the way God really loves. If we really love our husband, if a man really loves his wife, he's not going to think of having a second wife. He's not going to see having a second wife as an option. He's not talk of having a secret second wife or third wife or fourth wife. Are you with me? And the same way with a woman. If a woman really references her husband, she really submits. Submission. A woman will not really submit if she has not loved. A woman a woman that will submit to you will have loved you first. I mean, true submission is birthed by love. We have a kind of submission that are forceful submission, but true submission, that's what the Bible talks about. True submission is birthed by love. So a woman would not submit to you if she had not loved you. She would have loved you, and she would reference you because she loves you. So if there's a love between them, then there's no need of saying that you want to have a secret second wife. So for all I care, there's no way around this topic. There's no way around this secret second wife of a thing. It is morally wrong as man. And seeing Mohammed Ali Dawah saying we are wired that way. We are not wired that way. Don't let you cannot justify your sexual lust by saying you are wired that way. Any man that says he or she that is wired that way is a pervert, is a sexualist. Are you getting what I'm saying? Because Mohammed is a sexualist. He's a sexual pervert. So they did that just to cover up for their prophet. He's a sexual pervert. So we are not wired that way. If we are wired that way, God would have created more than one wives for Adam. And if we were wired that way, God would not have said we should have only one wife. God would have permitted it. But we are not wired that way. The reason why it is so is because, number one, because of the fall in the Garden of Eden. It was sin that caused about all this. And so far Christ has come to redeem us from the loss of the sins, and then we are free from all this. There's a place for, if you are a sexual pervert, pray to God. God is going to help you out. He's going to heal you. He's going to take it away. And there's a place for self-discipline. You don't have to start thinking that until you have more than one wife. So what in a nutshell, what Allah is saying is that even if his wife that means if his wife is not there, he can have sex with any other lady without the knowledge of his wife. That is what it means. That they can, and nothing's going to happen, and they can lie to their husband, to their wife. So far it's permitted in Islam to lie to your wives. Are you with me? So there's no way around it. It is wrong. You cannot. Those that doesn't know God, if you say this to them, they will tell you this is wrong. Not to talk of those that know God, and not to even talk about a God Himself that is so sovereign, that we see to be so pure, Allah to be so pure. Then the question you need to ask yourself is that what kind of God is this Allah that you are serving? What kind of God is He that can allow this kind of thing? He does not even care about your feeling as a woman. He does not care about your feeling. He does not even care about the consequence, the aftermath of the whole thing, of the secret second wife. He does not even care. No matter how you go about it, the consequences of that action will only birth is so grievous that you would have said, I had known I should not have done it. If Abraham had known that Agai's descendant, that the Ishmael, is going to be the one that's going to be tormenting Isaac's descendant, do you think he would have done that? If David had known that just one night stand that he had with Bathsheba would have caused a lot of chaos in his kingdom, do you think he would have done that? If Solomon had known that he marrying so many wives is going to have a devastating consequences on his life and spiritual work with God and his kingdom, do you think he would have engaged in this? There's no way you want to run around it. Polygamy marriage has a lot of consequences. There is no benefit in it. It is only satisfying the sexual perverseness of the man. The only benefit is just to the man, not to the woman or to the children. When I mean polygamy, even not to talk of secret second wife, third wife, or fourth wife. It is basically, in any sense, it is so much more wrong. Think about this. You have your head that you can think about. If this is what Islam teaches, and then if Allah does not think about you, the consequences, if we human beings, we can think right and say this is wrong, we expect much more from Allah and His Prophet, but it seems as if we are not getting what we expect from Him. Do you still think that this Allah is God? And do you still think that this Muhammad is the real prophet? This is a question that you need to ponder upon, and you need to reach a concise conclusion for yourself. So I come away next time, I pray that you are sandwiched in the grace of the God, and the God of grace will sandwich you in Him, and will establish you. He's going to uphold you until His second coming. I pray that the grace of God will be with you, and I leave you with the peace of God. Thank you very much for watching. God bless you.